I was talking to a woman that I know quite well last week, I guess it was, and it just so happens that her son, teenager, going through a really hard time, and has suicidal urges. He had the presence of, he was depressed, and his mother recognized that, and so took him to a counselor, and he had the presence of mind to tell the counselor how he was feeling. He said to the counselor, you know, I've got these suicidal urges, and I cannot control them. They don't come, I'm sure they're not coming all the time, but they're coming far too often than one would desire. Well, you don't ever really desire to have a suicidal urge. And it's not about desire, it's just they come. And so measures were taken to, well, the first measure, just for your information, that people take in a situation like this, the counselor said, look, you can't protect him. He's very smart. He's researched it. You know what you need, the minimum you need to hang yourself with? She's discovered this. A shoestring and a doorknob. That's sufficient. He got that off the internet. He found out because he's resourceful. And so the counselor said, you can't protect him. You just don't have the wherewithal. He needs to be in a place that deals with this and will make sure that a shoestring and a doorknob are not available. I never asked her how they did the doors, you know. Without her doorknob, maybe they slide back and forth. I don't know. And so they put him in an institution or a home, would be a better word, I guess. Very expensive. Didn't have one here in Knoxville. They had one, but everybody said it was unreliable. It's not a good place to go. The people don't really pay attention to the situation. Had to send him all the way to California to find one that was adequate. I mean, the people that work in this area know which places are really doing a good job and which ones aren't. And so she had the good fortune to have enough money to be able to afford that. Most people would simply not be able to afford that. Oh, this place was expensive. Maybe $1,000 a day. I mean, it was expensive. Her good fortune was that her husband's insurance covered such situations. And that's unusual.
Wow.
That's a miracle right there.
It is.
Sure is.
Because most do not. So at any rate, you have to react quickly to. That's sort of like an emergency situation. You have to react quickly and appropriately to keep the person alive. And so that was done. And and then the child was brought back after this stay, and I'm sure it was very beneficial, but the problem is still there. And my main, you know, how do you view that situation? How do you look at that situation? Well, the way we would look at it, I think people here would agree with me, is that everybody has their own path. You have your own sets of challenges that you've chosen to confront for whatever and try to deal with in this life. Sometimes they can be very hard, as we would judge it. Sometimes they're not. But no matter. That's the choice of the person you're talking about, whose particular journey seems really challenging. And what became apparent to me after a while was I was not, this is going to sound a little strange, I was not so much as concerned about the child as I was his mother. I don't know why that is. You'd think it'd be more concerned about the child. But it's true for all of us, of course, the mother as well. But the mother was saying that this was very painful to her. Very painful. And I sort of thought about that. Well, if you're thinking that it's painful, I'm afraid for you that your body is going to start showing. pain pretty soon. Because if you have a situation like that and you begin to feel that it's painful, how do you express that? How do you deal with that? If you don't allow it somehow to be expressed and taken out, it'll turn around and go into your body and make you sick. And so I asked this person, I said, well, it seems to me, I said, that what you need to do is to detach, but still be loving. You need to be loving and compassionate. This person needs you, but you also need to be detached. You do not jump on his bus with him. You do not regard him as being on the wrong bus, the bus taking you along your journey. And she says, I just don't know how to do that. Would you know how to do that? Because I think Brian was telling us earlier that we are trying to mix or combine metaphysical truths with lived experiences, right? And I really agree with that. I think that's what the Course teaches us. It doesn't teach us to go off into a cave where we don't have any experiences and just meditate all the time. Not that that's wrong. In fact, Jesus even says it'll probably work eventually.
Yeah, it does.
But he says, I've got a faster and better way here. Better may be an inappropriate word, but it's the way that he wants to emphasize for us, because it is faster, and I would say it brings gentle lessons. And you know, another thing, if you do just go away and meditate all the time and then come out and discover, as we jokingly refer to somebody's experience who came out after feeling that he had reached enlightenment in the cave, and as soon as he hit the bright light of that day and heard those terrible things everybody else was saying, he turned around and went back in the cave, you know, because of all this awful. He says, I was enlightened, and then you said all that terrible stuff, see, you know, and I'm upset now. Well, I think that would challenge my commitment to the path of being in the cave if I discovered it only works in the cave, you know. It's kind of limited. So the Course offers us a combination here of experience and detachment, you might say. They need to be combined, yes.
I was listening to an Abraham tape and pretty much about the same subject, and I also saw this terrible story in the news where a mother felt concerned for her son and brought him to the hospital because he was having this problem. And in the parking lot at the door of the hospital, the mother and the child got in an argument, and the child pushed the mother. And the mother called for security for help with for the child. And security came, tackled, these are big guys, tackled and jumped on the young teenager, and then another one came and punched him in the face. Sorry to bring up those images,
Yeah.
but what Abraham was saying is that we see we see our children many times as inappropriate, or we see each other as having inappropriate behaviors and being inappropriate, and we never. He said, Abraham said, we never see anybody inappropriate, pedophiles or murderers, yeah. And what we do is we embrace them and hold them, and part of the point of the story was that they are this way because they feel inappropriate, and the world reinforces the fact that they're inappropriate.
Let me show you how inappropriate you are. I'll hit you in the face.
Yeah. And we give so many examples of what is inappropriate and condemn each other for our inappropriateness, when the answer really is so simple that the metaphysical truth is that you are a child of God, and that you can't be hurt and you can't hurt, and that you need to love each other as much as possible, accept each other, and through that acceptance rather than in condemnation.
There's a huge portion of the population that would refuse to accept that metaphysical truth.
Yeah. And so they live completely separate from metaphysical truth in blindness of an illusion.
Right. Yes, Debbie.
Can you please talk louder?
I can certainly try. Whether I will succeed or not is, we'll see.
Want to
You'd
move
also
up?
move, if you wish to move
You
up
wanna
closer,
move
that would be
up?
Move up
fine.
here.
We will all allow that, of course. Sit wherever you wish. So what I'm really wanting to focus on more than anything else, I guess, is the putting into practice what we learn here into daily experience. And also bringing your attention to the need to combine detachment with love. And ask you why it is that people feel the need to attach. It's a general question I'll throw out to you. Because it's very common. You attach to your favorite team, you attach football team, let's say, you attach to your special people, your family, let's say, you attach to whatever, well, I don't know, various and sundry things. You may attach to a political party. You may attach to your job, you know, or people you work with. I don't know, but we seem to have the need to attach. Now, so what do we mean by attachment? If I attach with somebody, it does it not mean that I'm happy only if they are? Is that the way that works? And if they're sad, I'm sad. That means I'm attached. Please disagree if you. I'm just asking you here. Are you going to disagree with me,
Yeah,
Randy?
disagreeing with that. I think attachment's one thing, and it's you can see examples already. Judges those examples more than anything else, I believe. And there's also something called nurturement. And what's the difference?
Right. I think you. Okay. Well, that's a good point. I think you can nurture somebody without being attached.
I think you can. I think that's what the Father's love for His Son's all about.
The father's, yes.
Love
Right.
for His Son.
Yes.
Just like in our relationships with our children.
Right. And so I'm really focusing, I guess, more on anything else on attachment right now. Is that something that you are challenged with? Is that something that you, or is it something you think is good? Some people think attachments are good and measure the amount. They will probably measure how loving you are with how many attachments and how strong they are. You know, and so yet I'm not saying let us withdraw. It just don't be it. It's like years ago I was single and I'm not a cook, but I decided to cook anyway. That is a recipe for disaster, of course, but I did that. Decided I would do that and invite my kids over to experience my experiment. And I think I was making, it was green, I remember that, and juicy, and it had cucumbers in it and sour cream. What does that sound like?
I don't know.
Yogurt.
There's a name for this stuff, I don't
Oh, I
know.
heard yogurt, somebody said something.
Gazpacho.
Gazpacho. Hey,
Oh, okay.
we have a cook among us, sort of. Probably sort of is the
Gazpacho, that
wrong
sounds
word there
exactly right.
for Dan. I don't think of you as a cook, Dan, but I could be wrong. Probably certainly more so than I, at any rate. Well, I had made, I thought it was good. I liked it. I don't know. And so I made this gazpacho for everybody, and they came over to have it. And that was the only thing on the table. It's gazpacho or nothing. And I remember my son's reaction was, I'm not touching that. Do you have anything else? I said, well, I can make you a piece of toast. I think I've got a piece of bread in it. There was nothing else there. And so he didn't eat anything. I was not attached to my creation there. I liked eating it, but I didn't care whether they ate it or not. I just wanted to offer it. That's not attachment, see. Now, if I was attached to it, I would have said, well, I went all to this trouble to make this, and you're not going to eat it. See, I'm attached to it. I'm trying to make you feel bad because you're not in line with my intentions here, and I'm attached to my intentions and my attachments seem to have expectations with them sometimes. Well, I just wasn't attached. I just said, well, I'm sorry, you don't like it, but that's fine. You don't have to eat it. That's just what's on the table. You do with it whatever you like. I wasn't bothered at all. I was under I just wasn't attached to it, that's all. Attachment has to do with sometimes with outcome. You know, I offer, if I'm attached, I expect you to take, or I'm going to get upset if you don't. But if I'm not attached, I offer, you don't want, so hey, no problem. I did my part, and that is I stirred it up and put it together, or whipped it up. I don't know what I did. Yes, Brian.
I wonder, does attachment also have to do with fault? It's my fault. Or
Blame.
or guilt.
Guilt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I could have said, well, gee, I'm not a very good host here because I didn't provide a great variety. Oh, I just don't go there.
And
You know,
even-
you're lucky if there's one thing on the table, you are lucky as far as I'm concerned because I'm just not a cook, and it's a miracle that even there's not
Yeah,
something
well,
on
I'm
the
talking
table.
about attachment in general.
Yeah.
How it wouldn't apply in your cooking experience.
Well, I just took it and replied there because I was talking about it. Yeah.
Or even control.
Yeah.
The
But-
attachment seems more on the ego level,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
non-attachment, detachment, or whatever you like to call it.
Yeah. Detachment.
Seems more looking at it from the Holy Spirit's
I agree
perspective.
entirely. I don't think the Holy Spirit is attached
No,
to
Definitely.
how we're doing. He's just there to be helpful. You know. Yeah.
I feel like that the need to attach comes from our original
Yes.
belief in separating. And we're maybe misguiding where our attachment should be. You know, if we believe that we're detached from God, but we don't know how to attach back to God, if you want to say it that way, we attach to other things looking for that completeness that we feel like we've lost by detaching.
I'm sure
Separating
that's
ourselves.
right. Yeah. In other words, if I have the feeling that I'm not attached to anything, including God, and then if I find some kind of connection with somebody, oh, I've got a connection. Finally, I found a connection. Let's nail it down and secure it. And so I attach to it, you know, and it's you and me, babe, you know, as they say,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or whoever. And now I'm attached, and I have to begin expectations and stuff. Whereas the metaphysical approach is to say, I'm attached, I'm connected to, it doesn't have to be attached. I'm connected to everyone and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oneness.
But if I don't believe that, and I find a little connection, then I want to really make a big deal out of it and nail it down. Yeah.
What I think it's kind of twofold. I think that we have that natural inclination to want to be connected,
Right.
but then I think we also have a societal situation of, oh, well, you know, if you're a loving person, you would do this, or loving people do this, and oh, we're all attached to something, and if we're not, then we're odd. And I think society tries to dictate, which is the separation, dictate how loving we should be. But then again, back to the other, which I think is the natural, realistic version is, yes, we all are connected and we feel that within us. And so we have this confusion of being connected and loving, but then society and ego takes over and wants to dictate how that love is shown. And so we get confused on being loving but detached, or being loving and being so attached that you can't breathe unless the other person is breathing too.
Right. The basis is either separation. You know, I feel separate from everybody, so when I do find a connection, I distort it in some way or other. Either separation or union. No, I'm going to feel joined to whoever is there. And I have the feeling that love does not care a whole lot about the recipient, that is, which recipient is direct. It just wants to flow and be, you know, and hit whoever is in front of you, you might say. Jesus says, love your neighbor. Well, the neighbor's the person in front of you or living next door. It doesn't just mean the person living next door, of course. Whoever you see, you know. And the ego doesn't think that way, of course. And it wants to say you're not good enough for anybody to love. Forget that. And God most certainly doesn't. He holds all kinds of things against you. It's just so distorted. It's incredible. But I just was focusing again on attachments. What are you attached to? That doesn't mean you can't regard the other person. What replaces attachment? Let's think about that a minute. It seems to me that what replaces it is a sense of the value of the other being, whoever they are. And one does not have any more value than another. Whereas if you attach, the person you attach to, you feel has more value, at least for you, than somebody else. He or she's the only one that likes you, let's say. Okay? So you attach more value to that person. And the metaphysical outlook is to say, liking doesn't really matter. What matters is, I really believe that. It's not important whether people like you. I don't see that as important at all. Do they value you? If I go up to someone at the counter in a store, I don't care whether they like me. You know, what difference does it make? But if I want them to sell me something, I'm really appreciative that they value me as the same as they would anybody else and are happy to sell me. Well, or serve me, you know, like at the counter of a store. We used to have problems with racial discrimination in that regard. And if you were being discriminated against and the person in the drugstore wouldn't serve you, well, that's an attack as far as I'm concerned. But at any rate, the attachment comes then out of that base where you feel separate from others for whatever reason. And that's why our metaphysical truths are so important, because they say that everyone is of value and of equal value. Even our forefathers believed that. All men are created equal with life, with the inalienable right to the pursuit of life and liberty. Now, I'm not doing it well today as far as remembering. But it's there, it's in the preamble, isn't it? I remember Faye telling me one time that wasn't in the Constitution, in the preamble. I guess she's right, I really don't know. But it's wonderful that they came up with that phrase, the inalienable right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. That's what it was. And that applies to all equally, no matter the situation. Not just to your family, not just to your racial group, not just to your religious group. It doesn't matter about that. So it does seem to me that grouping and having separate groups that you have allegiance to and attachments seem to be connected. If you don't have those groupings, if you want to be attached to the whole universe and to God, hey, have at it. Not a problem. If you want to be attached to everyone on earth and the worlds beyond and to God as well, actually we wouldn't even call that attachment. If you're attached to everything, you're not really attached to any specific thing, so it's not a problem. You're just connected to everything, that's all. And that's what the Course teaches us, is that there is no separation, you see. Lack of connection means separation. And so whoever it is that you see, they're your brother. That's that's the attitude of the Course. And it has nothing to do whether they're in your clan, if you happen to believe in clans. We don't use the word clans, right, but many people are very clannish, whether they use that word or not. If you're not in their religion or go to their church,
You know, Bob, if you went into a store and you really feel that you're equal, everyone is equal, and that you're one with everyone,
right.
and you smile, and the first thing you know, everyone's smiling at you,
Right.
and they're willing to help you, whatever you need, And I just went into Walmart the other day, and I was happy and I was smiling, and it was amazing the response that I encountered from everyone.
Well, it's contagious,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And you're happy too, you know, you're just so
Yeah.
happy you don't know which way you're going.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Uh,
I prefer that. I'm a happy camper.
So happy I'm
Well,
lost.
that's the way, I
Yes.
encourage it
Yes.
thoroughly, yes.
A couple of weeks ago in here, we were talking about the idea of completion
Yeah,
as opposed to separation.
right.
And that's what I'm hearing again now. It's like attachments are just opportunities to be complete.
Yeah, in a limited way, I'm trying to complete myself with this one person or two people, those just in my family or group or what, preferred group. And the Course says you are already complete. It says there's no emptiness in you. People wake up in the morning and say, okay, how empty do I feel this morning? Well, pretty empty. Yeah.
Let me scan it.
And so they go out looking for an attachment to fill. See, I need an attachment to fill an emptiness. You need if you want to pump a certain liquid from here to there, you need a tube, and you need to attach the tube to the vat where you want to pump it to, and also to the source wherever it's coming from. And that's just a mechanical kind of way of looking at it. But they feel that if I'm empty, then I need the attachment. It's like this big long pipe, see, through which whatever you think the other person ought to give you can flow. The Course says that leads to special relationships. If you want holy relationships, it says you have to start from a completely different idea. And the idea is this: there is no emptiness in me. I'm already complete. If I come to you with the idea that I've got an emptiness in me, I'm not complete, will you please take care of it for me? Please just turn around and go the other way. You don't want to be involved with that because you can't do that. The emptiness is not there. How can you feel a hole when there's not a hole there? You would try anyway and not succeed. So the Course says that in your relationship, start out from a place of fullness that you want to share, not of emptiness that you want the other person to fill for you, so that you can blame them when they fail at that, because they will. You know, they just will. They will not remember your birthday, or they don't remember it soon enough, or the card wasn't good enough, or whatever. You know, in one way, they got irritated with you one too many times last week, you see, whatever. But if that need's not there, then you have the basis for a holy relationship instead of special relationships. This takes a little practice. It takes a little effort, generally speaking, on our part to do that, because there's a tendency to specialize. We want to narrow things down to this one person because we both like golf or whatever. This matter of liking other people, as far as I can tell, that has to do with similarities of personality. Do we both like golf? That's just not very important. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. Go play golf with your friend. But as far as its existential significance, it's pretty much like zero. You know, your personality is not real anyhow, no more than your body. You are a soul or a spirit that is infinite, totally complete, and it's just we're having an experience here. So I had two people come to my door this week from the Church of Latter-day Saints. That they go door to door. I was in a more social mood than I sometimes am. So if I'm not in a social mood, I say bye. And trying to be nice, but bye. Is that nicer than bye? I don't know. But I was in a more social mood and sat there and talked to them for a little while. Every time they would say, well, we believe this, 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 and I'd say, yeah, I do too. I believe this, this, and yeah, well, I do too. And she says, this book has done so much for me. I said, well, I'm so glad you found it. More people need a good book like that. And we had a good conversation. And somehow or other that fits in with what we're saying. I have forgotten how it fits in. Maybe you can. think of a way that fits in. Well,
Joining with.
it's just joining with
You were
them.
joining with them, but not attached to
They're
them.
not even in my group. They're not Course in Miracles. He's in the wrong group. You know.
Oh, no, but they're in the right group.
Oh yeah. From my perspective, that I was delighted that they were saying what they were saying and believing what they believe. For that matter. In fact, that's what I said. That's how it fit in. I said to the lady, I said, "I'm just so glad your book works for you." That's what I'm glad for. It doesn't matter whether it's my book. That's not important. But it's your book and it works for you. As long as it does, fantastic. You know. And I even gave them, they looked at me and they said, "Well, you must like art." I said, "Why is that?" "Because you got paint all over your hands."
Just messy.
Well, that goes with the territory. Yeah, for me anyway. And I said, "Yeah, I love to paint." And I said, "You want to come in and look at my paintings?" And it dawned on me, I'm the only one here. They're not going to. They said, "No, our rules don't allow that." And I said, "Well, that's good. Actually, you shouldn't. But I'll go get something I painted and show it to you." So I went and did that. And they just enjoyed the conversation. And then I said, "And if you want to look at more of my art, go to my website." See, I've got a website now. I can just, that's to really, I've told 3 different people in the last few weeks, after strangers I'm talking about. You know, if I sense a little similarity of interest of any kind, their similarity would be the art. They both think they're women, where it's in art. I said, "Well, you can see more art on my website." And so I tell them my website. Anyway, those were good experiences, to say that. And I just hope you will remember this matter of not seeing yourself as empty, because that is a setup for special relationships. Yes, right.
So were you able to console your friend who came to you with the child?
No. I didn't know how. Because I knew how, but it's not a matter of, but it's like knowing how, but how much of that knowing will they accept it? And that was where I hit the zero. Because they don't have the thought system at all. I mean, no spirit, they don't have a spiritual thought system. Think of them as atheists, if you wish. It's not probably quite true, but closer to that than believing like we do. So with, my consolation was believe the stuff I believe, okay? Steve believed what's in the Course in Miracles, believe what's even in the Church of Latter Days, even that book, I say even. I don't know anything about it. Actually, all I know is it was working for these people, it works for a lot of people, and that's wonderful. But they don't have a book. They don't have a way. They don't have a set of metaphysical truths. So not having that, and are not open to accepting it. See, so I didn't really know how. If somebody has a suggestion, I'm open to hearing it because I didn't know how.
Yet in the way that you received her and joined with her, and since you have your metaphysical truths, you offered forgiveness and you offered the Holy Spirit, and you offered something that she can carry on with her, as the last paragraph in the books in this thing says, is that you're lovingly affected by our forgiving approach, and our contributions towards salvation is being made in that instant. So
Yeah, I believe that. I do indeed. That's an indirect kind of gradual, indirect process. But I didn't have a direct, yes, believe, and it'll all go away. I didn't have anything like that. I just simply said, "Can you do that?"
Yeah.
And she said, "No, I can't do that."
So just in your own being who you are, you offered something that you could take.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit like sharing happiness. As you walk in Walmart or wherever they went, people respond to your energy,
Yeah, like
not
Norman
just to your
Sandy
words.
did on their trip.
Huh?
Like Norman Sandy did on their trip.
Right, right,
Exactly.
right.
Same thing. Doesn't matter where it is, it happens.
We're here to save the world. That was also, I think, on our handout, wasn't it? Or was it last week? I think it was this week.
You're here only to be truly helpful.
That's right, yes.
What is his status now, the young man?
We shall see. He's still alive.
He's, okay.
That's really all that you're hoping for at this point is, when you're a teenager, things are especially hard, but everybody tells us that.
Yeah.
And so then you couple that with shell shock. He's been exposed to shell shock. PTSD, is that what they call it?
Post-traumatic syndrome.
Yes, except they put a C in front of it, which is complex, that, which means instead of 5 huge artillery shells,
Yeah.
several years of machine gun verbal assaults. It's the same, it produces the same effect.
Yeah. And I can speak a little bit to the mother not being able to release at the time, but I do know that she will have a point where she will be able to release and still have the same love for her child, but at the same time, she will know that she can't continue to be of support to him if she's so attached that her emotions are not in a separate mode. You actually do have to find a separateness from the attachment that you have without losing the love. And she can do that. She just has to realize that she can give him the same support and love, but she has to be able to detach enough to keep herself healthy.
She may feel that if she detaches, she is rejecting him.
Well, yes, that's
Yeah.
how.
I don't agree with that,
No,
but,
well, I was there at one point with
Yeah.
one of my children,
yeah.
and I finally realized that I was not being helpful by being so attached,
Yeah, well,
that I had to find a healthier way for us both to be.
it would be nice if that occurs before, while he's still alive.
Yes, that's true.
But again, you have to let other people follow their path.
Yes.
We're here to be truly helpful. I'm not here to reroute your path for you. I wouldn't know which way to point it anyhow,
Right.
you know, or how to do it.
There's PTSD, there's a number of stories about people that are in wars where there's a bomb dropped and they hear it coming down closer, and they just give up and say, take me, I'm on board, and it's a dud. And it's like an experience, I've heard that it's like an experience of salvation or euphoria. In a lot of ways, detachment's that way.
Well, detachment says, I'm okay no matter what happens.
Right.
And you are too, but you just don't know it. But if I don't believe I'm okay,
Right.
see, I don't know the internal state of this other person particularly. I mean, she may not feel she's okay unless she is a wonderful mother, which means wonderful kids that don't want to do something awful like that, see? Something awful. The very phrase means that's a hierarchy of illusions. That's awful. Coughing isn't. See? So you're already thinking in a non-useful way, you might say, about that. Very easy to do in this world. But you have to let the other people be. Whoever they are right now. We know what they are really, but they're on a path, they're going to get there, and that's what I hear you're saying.
Yeah, you have to let go of the fear of what might happen.
Right, right. Did you have? Michael will not share his thoughts with us, so.
I was scratching my nose.
Well, that's about as profound as you can get.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Why don't we join in a circle, have a closing thought? Thank you for being here today. And as soon as